Welcome, everybody. I'm Christine Haley-Brinen. I'm an early childhood professional and a mom of 2 kids. And we want to welcome you here to Raising Socially Conscious Children. I'm here with my friend and colleague, Jillian Best Adler. And Jillian, why don't you say hi and do a quick introduction?
Hi, I am Christine's colleague, and I'm also a mom of 3 children. I have a 6-year-old and 2 children who just exited babyhood and entered toddlerhood. They just turned 1 last week and are truly toddling around my living room right now as I am trying to have this conversation.
Welcome to motherhood. Oh my goodness, working and Zooming and parenting at the same time. I have a 14-year-old and a 12-year-old, and Jillian and I tend to have conversations about raising children and also in our jobs about creating a world and a space where children have open minds and are socially conscious in how they act in the world. So this time together in our hope is for us to reach out with each other and talk. And so it is December and Hanukkah begins this week. Happy
Hanukkah!
And this is going to lead out our conversation because Jillian and I, we just always end up talking about what's going on. And that's how children learn. What's happening around me? And they ask questions, which leads to the idea of learning more about people we don't understand.
I'm wondering what kind of conversations you've had specifically around the fact that many of your friends and neighbors are not Jewish and we're celebrating Christmas. How did your children respond to that, and what did you say?
First lesson, I told my children to not tell the other kids about Santa. I think that, in our day-to-day, as the lights would go up for Christmas, or they would go and help my mom decorate her tree, the customs that I grew up with, they were able to really experience. And then the questions that do come that feel awkward about what are the differences and why is someone Jewish and why is someone Christian, right? So that's the big question. And those would come in time. So we would have to kind of deal with those hard, uncomfortable moments. My father was a minister. So I come from a very devout Christian family who's very open and very loving and loves my Jewish family. So it's been actually a wonderful conversation of respect for all experiences, because we have Christian friends who go to church, and we have Christian friends who celebrate Christmas in a different type of way, and maybe that church isn't a part of it. So it's really saying, okay, it's okay. One home will do something a little bit different than another. Mm-hmm. Mostly those kinds.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Mostly those kinds of conversations. And then all the children in the neighborhood who were jealous because they wanted 8 nights of presents, which really doesn't happen.
That resonates with me because our children, they know a lot of Jewish people because my husband is a rabbi. And so we are actively involved in congregational life. And my son has had to learn some key lessons about minorities and realizing that, like, being Jewish is to be a minority, a religious minority in this country and our region. So, for a few years, he was pretty much exposed to a lot of Jewish people. And then he went to kindergarten and realized, like, there's only 2 Jewish kids in my class. I'm one of them. And so he's learning a little bit about the fact that Christianity is the majority religion in our country, and Christmas does dominate the season. So he's noticing, now that he's seeing things through a more critical eye, that there's a lot more representations of Christmas than there are of Hanukkah. There's a lot of Christmas movies and shows that we watch, but not a lot of Hanukkah. There's no Hanukkah shows. We watched Puppy for Hanukkah approximately 18 times this weekend. Have you watched it yet?
Yes, thank you, David. The best.
Thank you, David, for representing
Love it.
Jewish plurality and Jews of color in a very vivid and enlightening way. We were all delighted.
Yes.
And we're recognizing that that's the one song this year, and where there's all the Christmas songs that we listen to, and we're thinking about what that means, right? About justice and fairness and representation. You know, we don't always know who's you know, representing our religion or a different one just from looking at them, unless you're wearing, you know, some type of clothing or some representation of your religion visually, you don't really know. So holidays is giving us a chance to acknowledge what people believe and practice, but as you said, at their homes and in their lives, apart from the lives that they share with us publicly.
Absolutely. And I think that goes into what we are hoping to promote as we're moms raising these children in the world, that we hope they will have an open mind to the idea that it's okay who I am and what we celebrate at home, and we should hold that value very close to us, but that there are other ways and other celebrations and other religions out there, and that can extend to so many pieces that I hope you and I will be talking about in the future. But bringing up just an easy statement that says, you know, not everybody celebrates the same way.
Mm-hmm.
And even something that you mentioned to me, not everybody celebrates the same thing.
Right.
And just those types of statements allow children at a very young age to stretch that brain a little bit more and say, okay, not everybody is exactly like me.
Right.
And then if we can extend it to what you said, this fairness of some people in the world, outside of even what we're talking about, some people in the world get a lot and other people in the world don't. And that's unfair.
Mm-hmm. Right. It makes it tangible, some of those differences.
Yeah.
What we say, we talk about beliefs. And we use it as a chance to talk about our beliefs as well as others, right? Because sometimes we just move through the act of the religious practice without saying why we do it, or that it is different than what other people might be doing. And so the phrase that I use is some people believe this and some people believe this. And I've used that in response to questions that come up, especially questions about God, which always come up at bedtime. I know you and I had talked about this before, but bedtime, when you're trying to stall going to sleep, is the best time to ask where God is. Mm-hmm. But the answer to that and to many questions is, well, there's a lot of different answers to that. And some people believe this and some people believe that. And what we believe in our house, or what I believe, which might be different than your co-parent believes, is this thing about God or about a holiday or about people or heaven, or all the questions that pop up when you are or aren't ready.
And usually you're not.
You're not.
That's why I think you and I want to have these conversations, because it would seem that someone like yourself and myself with graduate degrees and child development and the expertise back there, when you're a parent, you're a parent. And those questions come when you're tired, or when you're not feeling so great yourself, or you're just not prepared with the right speech. And that's what I'd hope anybody might know from you and I, is that there is no preparing the right speech. And it's good for children to hear, I don't know much about Islam, or I don't know much about Hanukkah. Maybe it's something we can look into together. Or do I know someone at work? Or do I know somebody that goes to your school? And maybe we can connect. Or maybe we just look something up and just begin the discussion together. Not that I, as the parent, should be all-knowing and bring everything to you. But the idea that we're always learning, we're always trying to find out something new, that people have different ways of celebrating, that people have different beliefs, gives that child the opportunity to begin the quest of becoming aware of differences.
Right. We all have the ability to learn more, right? Whether you know it or not, doesn't matter. You have the ability to learn more. And most of us are holding one of these like 80% of the time that we're with our kids. And when you notice something out and about, when you see a decoration on a house, or, you know, I was in Costco with my kid and he saw a nativity and was wondering what a nativity was, because that's not a part of Christmas that we celebrate. If you don't know the answer, just pull out your phone and say, I don't know. Let's look it up. Do a quick Google search. You're going to get like 10 million results. Look at the first couple, get a sense, and say like, oh, it's this. I'll look more into it later, and we can have another conversation. Christine, you said you're learning along with them. Like, this is what it's about. It's about taking advantage of the opportunity to see the differences right now during a season where a lot of holidays are very visible, and talking about it. There's, you know, even more coming up in the spring, lots more holidays to celebrate the spring.
And being active as a parent in that role or educator. It's easy to not, if the child isn't bringing it up, it's easy to walk away from it or not bring it up. And why not? Why not say, wow, look at all these wonderful Christmas decorations. You know, I love Christmas time and we have such a wonderful Christmas in our home. It's interesting that there's other things that actually are also happening. So you could throw that out, that people are celebrating other things during this time. And your child might be like, really? Oh, okay, I didn't know that. Or your child brings it up to you. And instead of not getting uncomfortable, get uncomfortable and have the discussion, look it up, and know that you don't have to be the all-knowing and all perfect with it. But what we do need in order to reach children that will continue the pattern through their lives is to introduce and to make sure we are facing some of these conversations that make a difference in who they are later on and how accepting they are later on.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to wish you a happy Hanukkah and Christmas also. And what I hope for you and I is that our next discussions revolve around the same idea. We're not here to discuss how to parent or educate, but we are discussing how to raise children who have open minds and understand differences. So next time we'll have
more to say.
Thanks, Jillian.
Thank you. I'll see you in the new year.